Welcome back to Road America. It is day number 2 of Superbikes at Road America as we continue to celebrate the 10th anniversary season of the MotoAmerica Championship. And we're now switching over to Superbikes in their second qualifying session of the weekend as they look to set the field. And we've seen some great improvements in lap time so far in the sessions that have run this morning, Roger, and I'd expect nothing different here in Steel Commander Superbike.
Yeah, every session so far this morning, especially the last 2, everybody's went quicker. So track conditions, it was really hot yesterday. Track conditions are going to be perfect this morning.
We're going to take a look at the radar. Yesterday in qualifying, we had blue, sunny skies, no clouds. Very different here this morning. You see Elkhart Lake there right in the middle, and you see this green storm system that's coming its way.
Yeah, we're having the rain coming in, and all these teams will watch the radar, and if they feel like they might not get this session in, they'll go out early and try to get that lap, but the rain's not supposed to come till a little bit in the afternoon. But all these teams, they're watching the radar, and they're making plans around it.
You see the system moving, and you said it later on this afternoon, right around 1 o'clock, which is when we're supposed to start our racing for the weekend. So we're certainly going to have to keep an eye on that. But before everybody gets up to speed, it's a 30-minute qualifying session. Everyone is left pit lane to get up to speed. So let's go ahead and take a look back at some highlights from Barber Motorsports Park. Race number 1.
Race 1, Barber, 3 races this weekend. Cam Beaubier taking the advantage, being on pole position. Jake Gagne, good start as well. It looked like early on Cam Beaubier might check out, makes a mistake, goes down. Luckily he was up and okay, and from there Cam Peterson was in the lead. The 2 Ducati boys there, Loris Baz, Josh Herron, and Sean Dillon Kelly. These 3 had to battle for the last podium spot, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, going back and forth. See Sean Dillon Kelly being aggressive down into turn 5. Josh Herron next lap returns the favor. And then it was just all about Cam Peterson. His teammate was that close to him the whole race. Never made a mistake. You could see what it meant to Cam Peterson, able to get that win. We know what he's been through. The summer that he had last year with his wrist injury and not knowing if he's going to be able to come back, and the hard work that he's put in, and the mental hurdles to try to bounce back and able to come in and get that win. Great ride by Cam Peterson.
We had him on our preview show yesterday, and he said that he feels like he's really just riding better than he ever has. You take a look at the Steel Commander Superbike Championship standings as we sit going into racing this weekend. Cameron Beaubier with 3 wins on the season. He's leading everyone. Jake Gagne there 13 points back, and that was a storyline we were following, Roger, that Jake Gagne is not on top.
Not on top, and struggled a little bit at the last race, with some arm pumps. So we'll see if they can improve this weekend. Qualifying didn't go well for him yesterday or his teammate. We'll see if they can bounce back this morning. Sean Dillon Kelly only 22 points back in 3rd. For the rookie, that's really impressive right now.
Bobby Fong is able to stay inside of the top 5 with his podium finish in the 3rd race at Barber Motorsports Park. So he's carrying some momentum with him right now also. We are now a few minutes into this qualifying session as riders are starting to get up to speed. You're looking at Josh Herron on the Ducati, and for Josh, this is certainly a track that he has a lot of success at. It's a track that he loves coming to. He won race number 2 here last season after setting the track record last year at 2:09.0 is the race pace record. And we broke that in qualifying yesterday. Cameron Beaubier had a 2:09, but certainly Josh is looking to find some more speed this morning as well.
Yeah, and find a little bit more. Cam Beaubier's, yesterday afternoon was over a second quicker, so he's going to need to find a little bit of time. But, like you mentioned, Josh coming in this weekend, he loves this track. The Ducati's strong at this track, and, he just kind of been from the very first session, kind of always been toward the front of the leaderboard. So we'll see if Josh can find those improvements this morning. But coming in here, when you think about who's going to be strong coming into Road America, Josh Herron's definitely one of those guys.
If you're watching us on YouTube right now for the second qualifying session of Steel Commander Superbike, I'd like to remind you that the only place to watch all of the qualifying sessions for each of the categories, as well as seeing each of the races live and in their entirety, is on MotoAmerica Live Plus. And while you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and get your phone out, download the app for Live Plus, set up your account, and make sure that you've got everything set up and ready to go to be able to watch the racing live this afternoon. As we continue to watch Josh Herron you don't see Loris Baz there with him, and that was something we noticed yesterday too, Roger, as Ducati is now put, oh, well, he's right there.
He's a little bit
just
back.
a little further back than normal, but that is something that these two teammates have been able to do this season, and we've seen it in each of the sessions at all 3 stops so far. Is with 2 bikes out there for the first time in MotoAmerica, Ducati has been able to send their riders out, and they're able to learn and work together.
Loris Baz then down into turn 5, Sean Dylan Kelly just behind him. And again, if you're watching our preview show yesterday, you will have heard from a very excited Loris Baz when he went back to World Superbike after being here a couple of years ago. This was one of the circuits that he said he was really looking forward to coming back to. It took him a little bit of time yesterday as he heads in through the carousel in a couple of corners' time. Sean Dylan Kelly just behind him, and also Jake Gagne, who didn't have the best of days yesterday, one to keep out for. But Loris Baz, just to go back to your point, Jamie, this is a track that he said he loved. He's obviously got his head around the track, having not been here since it's been repaved. Definitely one to watch, as is this guy. And through the carousel, Roger, look at that body language from Sean Dylan Kelly. You'd think he'd been racing superbikes for years.
Yeah, and you see the big number 1 there right behind him, Jake Gagne, able to follow Sean Dylan Kelly and do a really good lap already this morning, a second quicker than what Jake did yesterday. So, you know, this being a qualifier, Jake now actually sets overall 2nd on the grid. So that's a huge lap for him there right now, and you know, whatever they were finishing, able to sort it out. But Sean Dylan Kelly just looks like he's just jumped on the Superbike, and he's been on it for, you know, just so much time for a young guy. And it seems like they struggle a little bit the first session. They're a little bit further out, and I think because they show up everywhere with the empty notebook, and then, you know, they work up toward it as the weekend goes on.
Yeah, it was something that we talked about back at Road Atlanta with SDK. It's a new team coming into Superbike, and for him making the move up to Superbike, but they answered a lot of questions that people were asking in terms of, are they going to be close enough? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, and for the team as well to move up and just be impressive and you know, be competitive at every round. It's not inconsistent. They're consistently showing they have the speed.
As you watch Jake Gagne, you mentioned he was able to put down that solid lap so far here in the second qualifying session, but yesterday was not incident free for Jake Gagne, and he was outside of the front 2 starting rows. He was down in 10th place. And take a look at this incident. This was in practice.
Yeah, practice 1 just ran off and couldn't get it slowed down before he got into the tire wall there and had to lay it down. And for Jake, just unfortunate. Man, it's been a struggle so far. I don't know how any other way to put it. It's not been the same Jake that we've seen the last couple years. It was that last corner. You can see that a lot. It's really tricky getting into there. But last race spent a lot of time on pit lane. So, you know, unfortunately for Jake, he's set the bar so high for himself the last couple years. He's 2nd in Superbike points, only 13 out, and sitting there talking about how he's struggling this year. So, you know, he's definitely just set the bar really high for himself, unfortunately. And
we were wondering, you know, after that crash, you saw those replays, and what you saw a couple of times was his right arm, and he was shaking his arm out when you know, right after he fell, right when he was getting back to pit lane, then when he was off of the bike, and then in qualifying after that, he wasn't able to put the lap together. But this morning, it looks like he's feeling a lot more fit. Yeah, and he's putting a really good lap together right now as well. So, you know, for Jake, this is what we haven't seen so far this year, is him out putting in laps, you know, consistently, just able to go out there. And you see Josh Herron right behind him. Josh is in a really good spot. Josh is leading this session currently with a 2:10.5. So Josh is in a really good spot. But Jake is able to go out there and put these laps in and kind of find that getting a really good rhythm. And we'll see if he can improve this lap. He went quicker, but just barely. Still stayed in 3rd position right now, that 2:10.9 for Jake Gagne. Still 20 minutes remaining in the session. As you see Josh Herron now making his way to pit lane. He's at the top of the leaderboard right now, that 2:10.5 that he did during this session. Not better than what Cameron Beaubier did yesterday, but you see all of the riders that are on pit lane right now, and we're going to see some improvement. And as they go ahead and sort that out, If you look up on your screen, go ahead and get your phone out and scan that QR code to play MotoAmerica for cash. You can play today and tomorrow during not just Superbike, but also during Supersport and the King of the Baggers races. And after today's races are over, there's going to be a whole new set of odds posted for Sunday races. So you can go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen, or go ahead and log in and place your bets. Roger, who are you betting on?
I think right now, if I had to, in Superbike, if I had to place a bet, I would have to bet on Cambobier, just as fast as he's been, and then also as quick as the BMW.
Let's go down to Michael. There's a lot of action on pit lane right now, Michael.
Yeah, just taking my usual wander along, and we see Gabriel da Silva not on track but in pit lane. This is the new Haritos sponsored Honda. Jeff May there just talking to Gabriel just off camera. Cameron Jones down there working on the bike. They've had this whole belly pan off the motorcycle. I wonder if I could just get a quick word with Jeff in a second. Jeff, if I can talk to you while you're doing that. What seemed to be the problem there?
We broke on the header, one of the spring mounts popped off, and so the header came off on the number 3 cylinder.
Okay, so a little bit of work there, Roger, but it looks as though everything is under control, and it looks as though we're about to see Gabriel da Silva getting back out there, which is good to see.
Yeah, great to see, and the team there able to figure out what the problem is and able to fix that really quick and get back out and get some laps in. New sponsorship for that team this weekend. It's great to see getting some more support.
Yes, some good Doritos out there. And if you're here at Road America and you haven't made your way over to the paddock area yet, you really need to do that this afternoon. There's an autograph session that's coming up during lunchtime. But go over and see the Dorito setup that they have, because the truck that they're carrying everything in, it just, everything looks so good.
And it's just great for, the sponsorship and for Gabriel and that team able to, more sponsors. It gives them more opportunities to, for the team to grow.
So we watched da Silva getting up to speed and getting a taste of the track for the first time this morning. Looking back at yesterday, he was able to put up a 2:16.2 in the first qualifying session. He was able to get a whole bunch of laps, really. His best lap came in lap 11, and that was a good session for them just to go out and be able to turn some laps.
Yeah, great session for him, and really just a great year so far for Gabriel. Last round in the Stock 1000 podium, and just been really quick. He's such a young guy. He's a former Horizon Award winner for road racing, so that's the award for the amateur with the brightest career, they think, and it's a huge achievement. And he won that a couple years ago. As we see JD Beach there. Man, what a first sector JD had. See that red there in the first sector. When he went through that one, he was a half a second quicker than the previous best.
And his personal best there in second sector. And he is the teammate to Cameron Bobier, who is the provisional pole sitter. And we talked yesterday about going back overnight and just seeing what they can learn and comparing all of the different sectors, and it looks like JD's been able to pick up some things.
Yeah, and JD had a good day yesterday. It's the closest we've seen him toward the front there. You see the third sector, the blue, how much time he lost through there. That's something, I don't know if it was a mistake, but he can look at. But this has been a great weekend so far for JD. He has struggled so far this year, and being off for a couple years, this is a big challenge to come back and go Superbike racing on a bike that you haven't been. And we mentioned yesterday that really he just needed like either a good race or a good session, just something to kind of get them going. And it looked like they got that yesterday.
And he improves his time to a 2:11.2, putting himself up into the 6th position for the time being, but still improving each time. You look down at the screen, Bobby Fong on the number 50, the Wrench Motorcycle Crew bike. He's on a lap right now. He's gone red in sectors 2 and 3.
Yeah, and great lap for Bobby, the first Yamaha yesterday, so that's got to feel good for the team. He's in the last sector, and Bobby just this year is just riding phenomenal. The team's doing a great job, and we'll see what kind of lap he can do, but it looks like he's on a good one.
And he goes straight to the top for Bobby Fong at 2:10.5. We knew when he went red in sectors 2 and 3, meaning he was the best out on the racetrack in those two places, it was going to be a good lap, but now everyone else playing catch up.
And now Bobier's going to kind of spoil it for him right away. You see Chavi Flores on a good lap as well there, right behind Cam Beaubier.
And Xavi Flores, if you weren't watching yesterday, he is the reigning Supersport champion and taking over Superbike duties at this portion of the season, filling in for Richie Escalante, who's recovering from injury. And Xavi now in his second race weekend with the Visual M4 X-Star Suzuki team is starting to put the pieces together.
Yeah, they were fourth yesterday, so that's a great first day. We'll see what Cam Beaubier can do here.
He takes over that #1 spot.
209.8. Yesterday he did a 209.7, so he's still the only rider that's able to get into 209s. And back to Xavi, you know, just filling in for Richie Escalante, and you know, no testing and jumping in. It's really difficult, and I think that first round at Barber with 3 Superbike races really gave them something to, you know, they sat on the bike before a little bit, rode, but kind of like a test, and now they can really start fine-tuning that and try to close the gap.
It's a great lap for Sean Dillon Kelly. As he comes across a 2:10.1 and moves himself up into the second place right now. And for Sean, you know, you were talking about it earlier in this qualifying session that he's able to come out now and be quick right at the get-go.
And even Josh Herron, look at the lap that he's in. I know when he was in last time, they put new tires on front and rear, so it's not the qualifying tire yet, but they're still trying to figure out what race tire they want to use. And looks like they're going to try to see if they can make this soft one work.
Heading then towards the line, just before I make the point I was going to make, past me goes Josh Herron, and Herron goes to the top at 2:09.700. The point I was going to make, guys, was that we had 4 manufacturers inside the top 6, and of course the point about Xavi Flores, no disrespect of course to Brandon Pash, but he's down there in 8th or 9th position with Richie Escalante, who's kind of been a bit of a team leader in the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, not here. All eyes have been on what Xavi Flores can do, and he's not only doing it for that team, but also it is bringing Brandon along as well, Rog. And you know what it's like to have a teammate there. But the point I wanted to make was there are little spots of rain in the pit lane. It's nothing to worry about, but there are little spots of rain here. Is this one of the reasons we're seeing these guys pushing so early? That threat of rain is obviously imminent, and it is spitting with rain here in the pit lane.
Well, I think yesterday we heard some riders talk about going back and forth between tires, and I still think they're trying to figure out which one that they want to use, you know, in race conditions. Is Cam Beaubier now 209.4, lowers it. Josh Herron also now in the 209s with the 209.7. But I think these guys want to back the tires. Start out with one, do some laps, come in, put the other compound on. That way you can have a real good comparison. The track conditions are the same, and then toward the end of the session they'll come in and get that soft tire.
What about Sean Dillon Kelly? He was on a better lap his first 2 sectors. No improvement there for him, but you look at that lap time that he just did, it was a 2:10.1 for Sean Dillon Kelly. His best time also a 2:10.1. So the point that you're making, Roger, they're able to go out there and on these tires and try to put the race laps together.
And that's going to be the big thing, and see how long they last. We see Josh out here on a really good run, backing these laps up. Last lap, 2:09.7. We'll see pretty close to this lap, or even a little bit better, maybe a mid 2:09 for Josh.
A 2:09.1 for Josh Herron, so he was able not only to improve on his own time, but also take that #1 position away from Cameron Beaubier. And we're being told right now that there is a rain flag being shown out around the racetrack. Michael, what do you know about tires and what these riders are on?
Yeah, just going back to the point that Roger made, it did seem to be the case. Jake Gagne's just left pit lane with a new rear tyre, no change on the front. That rain flag that you mentioned, I can tell you it is spitting heavier down here. There are spots of rain. I'm not sure we're going to see much more improvement here, because if there are rain flags around the circuit, that probably indicates that it's raining heavier than it is here. But there are now actually spots on the tarmac here in the pit lane. It is going to get wet. How much, I'm not sure, but the riders for sure are going to be getting very, very wet in the next few minutes.
And that was the rain flag you seen right there behind Cam Peterson, the white flag with the red X. That means that the rain's coming down in that corner. And you know, we talk about how big this track is. You're talking about 4 miles. It can be raining in one part of the track and not in the other.
And as you look at the radar up on the screen, you see Elkhart Lake. That's right where we are. And The system wasn't supposed to get here until a little later on this afternoon, but you see how it's popped up, and with rain in the area, it might be dry on some parts of the racetrack, but when you look at that big blob of green coming, Roger, it's not going to be long, and the whole track will be wet.
Yeah, and with 10 minutes left, you know, it depends on how hard it rains. You see a lot of guys were on pit lane and trying to get out there and wait, so we'll just see how hard it's raining. You know, if it's just a mist, it really won't slow these guys down too much. The pavement gets really hot, so if it's just a mist, it'll burn off before. But it's scary when you're a rider and you're going down into turn 5 from 180 mile an hour and you want to brake as hard as possible and you see a rain flag. You know, so it's just kind of mental hurdles to try to, you know, are you comfortable to test it out and see how hard you want to go seeing the rain flag.
We're watching Cam Peterson. We saw him just a couple moments ago. He's up into 5th today. Jake Gagne, his teammate, down in 7th right now. And yesterday, when we rounded out qualifying, they were down in 9th and 10th. So they're able to be more mid-pack today.
Yeah, improving. You see Brendan Posh also in a really good spot there behind Cam Peterson. And it looks like Cam's going to get a little bit behind his teammate here and see if he can't kind of use him as a carrot for this lap. But for Brendan Posh, this is a good opportunity for him, and the Yamaha boys are definitely improving today, but, you know, still Jake Gagne, you know, he wants to be further up in 7th, and we'll see now as the session winds down. Michael mentioned he came in, he got a new tire, and we'll see if that can help.
And the improvements that they've been able to make overnight are 1.2 seconds faster than what Cameron Peterson was yesterday. Bobby Fong, though, still the quickest on the Yamahas, and for him and that whole team, that's huge.
It's really big, and you know, and you want to be better the first brand, you know, so that's a huge for that team, a huge boost. And for them, they just seem like they're just carrying it over each race weekend and just getting better. We see Bobby coming back into the pit lane now and probably letting his crew know about, we just talked about the rain flags, probably letting them know what he's seeing and see if they can get back out. We see Chavi Flores in, brand new front tire there, you see that, probably a new rear as well.
I thought they were going to send him out, holding him for just a second.
You know, he could be waiting for a clean track or waiting to get behind somebody, but it looks like he's going to head out.
For Chavi Flores, and he's 6th, being shown in 6th right now in terms of lap time, but for him and, you know, getting on this Superbike and getting just some laps out here around MotoAmerica, no matter what the conditions are, he still needs the time. He said that a lot at Barber. I just need more time.
And all conditions on the Superbike, wet, dry, it doesn't matter. Just getting the laps and building the, you know, just filling out the tires. And, you know, he was on Dunlops last year, but it's a totally different bike and, you know, class. So each lap is just going to be so important. I honestly couldn't imagine jumping into the Superbike class without a winter of testing for a lot of these guys that do that. It's just so difficult to do that, and probably harder now. We talk about electronics a lot as we see Jake Gagne there on the bottom of the screen there. He's on a really good lap, but with electronics, just jumping in mid-season is really hard.
And there is Jake Gagne out on the track, still putting this lap together, and despite the rain flags that are being shown and the conditions that are changing, Jake Gagne able to improve his lap time, move himself up at 2:09.5 for Jake Gagne.
Yeah, and Jake was able to capitalize on those couple guys in front of him. They're able to get in a good draft. You see Loris Baz there heading back out, probably turning around and see Cam Beaubier there, and I think Michael's got a little bit more on Cam.
Yeah, Cam came in. We're just seeing him come back out onto pit road. Loris Baz just in front of him on circuit. New rear tyre for Beaubier, as you can see there. But interestingly, they didn't put a new front tyre in. So it's a used front, new rear for Cam Beaubier.
Everyone was chasing Cam Beaubier early on in this session. Josh Herron, who is sitting on pit lane, has that provisional pole position right now. But for Beaubier, he sat on pit lane, he talked to the team, he looked at some information, and I think he's going to go out there and try and better it, Roger?
Yeah, and it seemed like he sat there, the rain flags was out, and probably gave it a minute. See Cam Peterson there off track there, turn 3. Can't really tell if he ran off or if he crashed there, but luckily he's up and headed back in. Cam hasn't been able to improve when they went back out when he was behind his teammate. Yeah, he crashed. You can see the front.
See the grass, yeah.
3.
So he will limp it back around to pit lane, get the bike to the crew. Roger, what goes through your mind in these moments?
Well, you're just trying to figure out, you're pushing that little bit extra. You see another rider. I mean, this end of this qualifying, you're going to see a lot of mistakes. Everybody's trying to find that little extra bit to get that good lap in, and just for Cam, just figure out, what did I do wrong? What mistake did I make? And hopefully you know exactly what it was so you don't make that mistake again.
We didn't see the incident for Cam Peterson. Could it have been something, with the rain?
It could have been, even with it could be the rain coming in there, the track could be a little bit pavement or the wet. But also I think the biggest part of it is just a couple laps left, just pushing really hard.
This is a replay of what just happened with Manuel Suguera. He didn't go over, he didn't find the pavement, so he continues on. Looking at the top of the time chart right now, you see Josh Herrin sitting on that provisional pole at 2:09.1. Put that compared next to qualifying yesterday. Cameron Beaubier led the way at 2:09.7. So we've seen a lot of improvement in terms of lap time. And yesterday, Cameron Beaubier was the only rider that was able to get into the 2:09s. He was 1.2 seconds ahead of Josh Herrin, so it was a big improvement for Josh today. But Beaubier in the 2:09, Jake Gagne, Sean Dylan Kelly, the top four were all able to get there.
Yeah, and it seemed like everybody's made huge jumps today. Beaubier set the bar pretty high yesterday. Looks like everybody went to work. We see JD on track now, down there ninth, not where he's going to want to be. So he's going to have to try to get this really good lap. Lost a little bit there. You can see that second sector as he comes down through here. One of my favorite parts, going through there. It feels like you're going through the forest. Down into Canada Corner, JD Beach just, it looks like he's trying to do that little bit extra and trying to find that little bit more. And sometimes when you do that, you override a little bit.
And it comes down to being able to put all of the sectors together to get that complete lap time. And he'll be able to go back and look at it to the point that you've made earlier, that he'll see where he can improve, and he'll have the whole race to do it.
And he's going to improve on his best lap here. So, it just looked like it was going to be a lot more when he went through that first sector and it was red.
He moved up to fifth at 2:10.2. So now he's the first of the riders that have not dipped into the 2:09s, but a big improvement for him on that lap. And Josh Herrin, that provisional pole sitter, is now left pit lane, but we understand that he put on used tires, so he's not going out there to try and better his time. He's going out there to see the racetrack.
Yeah, just see the track, and maybe they made some sort of adjustment he wants to check, and then also definitely a start. Wants to be out there toward the end of the session to be able to do a start. Cam Beaubier was on a really good lap, but you see the second and third sectors that went away from him, and seeing a little bit of traffic behind him. Not sure if he got caught up with you guys.
Yeah, just down here as Jake Gagne comes back in, there are now more spots of rain. It's definitely more spots of rain than earlier. Nothing to worry about in terms of damaging the track or making the track slippery, but yeah, I'm not sure whether that's going to affect the rest of this session, but it is definitely raining heavier down here.
As you watch JD Beach, he's not on a lap that for any improvement. 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the second and final qualifying session for the Steel Commander Superbike category, and we still have qualifying coming up after this session for the Mission King of the Baggers competitors, and they'll have their final attempt to set the field, as well as the challenge that'll happen afterwards. But this weather is certainly going to change the strategy for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and all these teams, you see Cam Beaubier now, look at that first sector, almost 2/10 under his teammate's best. Now he's a half a second under in the second sector. This could be a track record. The outright track record is a 2:08.7. So if right now he's through the first half of the track, he's a half a second under. We'll see if he can finish it out through here. This is a really tricky part of the track when you're trying to push because it's so slow. It's one of those parts you kind of got to go slow to go fast through there and not rush it through that chicane and focus on a Superbike getting this big run out of there.
You heard Michael say that it's certainly raining harder than it has all day. But for Cameron Beaubier, he's taking full advantage of this opportunity. Goes red in Sector 3 as well. all he has to do now is finish out the lap. 4 mile long for this racetrack. It could be raining on this back half, and
he's catching some guys as well. I hope he doesn't catch them at the bad time, but it looks like right now he might be able to keep it pretty clean. Great job by Max getting over. Okay, the Superbike record, 2:08.7.
Comes up over the hill, you see his head down. He's tacked as a 2:08.4 for Cameron Beaubier, breaking the MotoAmerica track record by nearly 3/10 of a second that PJ Jacobsen set here back in last season in the warm-up session. So for Cameron Beaubier, just a huge lap.
Let's just do that slow chicane and see the front end moving. Look how early he's on the throttle right now, trying to pick the bike up. We talk about a lot with Matthew Skoltz getting different between Superbike and Supersport. You've seen how early he gets that bike up on the edge of the tire, trying to use the power to his advantage.
He was so aware of the timing of the session, knowing that it was his last lap. It was the last opportunity that he was going to get, and he finally put all of those pieces together. Now 7/10 clear of the rest of the field in terms of lap time. After the first qualifying session yesterday, he had a 1.2 second gap to everybody else. There was, you know, the recharge of the competition, thinking, oh, we finally closed this gap. We were there, we were ready for it, and then Cameron comes out right at the end and just lays down another one.
Yeah, it was just a couple laps before that. You know, I just mentioned how everybody made a big step but Cam, and then he goes out and, you know, worked on that race pace that whole session and trying to get ready for the races. Then he comes in, gets to that new tire, goes out, focuses on that, getting that one good lap in, and he was able to do that.
So we watched Beaubier come back around. You think back to, let's look back to yesterday, and this was something that's developed over the course of this season, a new relationship with Insta360, and we have the ability to put these really, really high-tech cameras on some of the riders and get perspectives that we've never been able to get before. And yesterday, Loris Baz carried one of the Insta360 cameras for us in the morning practice session. Take a look at this, Roger.
Yeah, and just can also see how beautiful this circuit is as well. But these riders coming up through here, you can just see how much they're just constantly working the bike, coming through here. This is turn 6 down turn 7 through here, really fast right-hander down into turn 8. What you really can't notice on this screen is the track is kind of going downhill at this point. Now you can see that makes it hard when it's going downhill to brake. We talk a lot about the carousel coming to MotoAmerica, how long he's on the right side of the tire. You see right now it just seems like you're on the right-hand side of the tire for a long time. This carousel is really hard on the right side of the tires. You see him pick up the bike into the slow chicane, where we just seen Cam Beaubier come through, kind of slow through here, almost come to a stop in the middle, pick the bike up wide open. And, you know, I mentioned one of my favorite parts of the track through here with the trees on both sides. And it's like you're just going through the forest down into one of the famous corners here, Canada Corner, another hard-braking corner toward the end of the track. Out of here at a really fast left-hander. This next left-hander here, you'll notice it's kind of blind on the other side. Once you get in it, you can't really see on the other side.
Really see how much all of these riders are using their bodies to control the bike and how quickly they're able to make those transitions when you get to see these angles that we don't often get to see. Let's go ahead and go down to Michael Hill, who's down on pit lane. What's it like down there right now, Michael?
Yeah, well, the rain that was falling seems to have stopped, and let's have a quick word with Cam Beaubier. Cam, you will have known probably more than me, a few spots of rain coming down. Did that affect you? Well, clearly it didn't. A new circuit record and pole position. How was that for you?
Yeah, thank you. It was raining a little bit in the first segment. Just not enough to stick, but enough to see, enough to scare you. Scare you a little bit, see it on your visor and the windscreen, but luckily it held off, and hopefully it does the same for the race. Yeah, Heron was going really fast this morning. It looked like SDK made a good step too. Chabi, yeah, there's a handful of guys that are going, definitely picked it up from yesterday. So yeah, just got to keep our heads down and see what we got for the race. But man, the Dunlop tires were hooking up awesome, especially that Q tire at the end. Felt so good seeing green on my dash under my previous best. So yeah, hats off to the Tytlers BMW guys, and yeah, we'll get back to work and see how the race goes.
Talking about that race, as you said, we've got 3 manufacturers in the top 4. It's going to be a cracking race for the fans watching at home and here trackside. Where do you see your biggest competition coming from in the race? Qualifying is one thing, racing very, very different, as we've seen so many times before. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, we keep saying it, but the field is stacked this year. There's so many good riders on some really good bikes. I'm sure it looked like SDK is getting, you know, better and better every session. Riding a superbike around here is definitely an eye-opener. You're going pretty fast going into Canada quarter and into the first quarter, all that. But I think he's going to be really strong. I think Heron's going to be really strong on the Ducati. He was really good here, really strong here last year. So yeah, we got our hands full, but we'll keep our heads down, like I said.
Excellent. Well, we're going to hand back to you, and I don't know if you can just see down here on the camera, if the camera can pick this up. It is now raining in pit lane, and this is proper rain, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, the weather is certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on for the duration of this afternoon, Roger, as it continues to change. But in terms of Superbike, they were able to get some good dry laps there. We saw some great improvement. Cameron Beaubier setting the track record. Jake Gagne finding some more pace. You take a look at the combined results from what happened yesterday in Q1 with today in Q2. Josh Herron still up there inside of the top 3 on that front row.
Yeah, and big improvement for Jake Gagne, 10th yesterday, moving all the way up to the front row. Sean Dillon Kelly, JD Beach, another great qualifier for Bobby Fong, Cameron Peterson, Chavi Flores, Brandon Posh. You look from 2nd all the way down to 9th. You take out the big gap that Beaubier has. It's a tight field.
Everybody there 3rd through 9th right on top. And for Cameron Peterson and Jake Gagne making those improvements that they were able to make, Cam, they've got some work to do on that bike. We saw the incident there at the end of towards the end of qualifying. So that bike has a little bit of damage. They'll get him back out, and as you look out the window right now, you can see the rain starting to fall. We'll get back down to Michael in just a moment and see what it's really like. But let's take a look at some of these highlights from qualifying. We'll start off with Jake Gagne in that #1 plate.
Yeah, huge improvement for Jake this morning out here to be on the front row. Best we've seen him this year, able to get out there and really put those laps in that we've seen him do previous years. So he's got to be feeling pretty good with the changes that they made. I think they figured out a really good direction for him. Josh Herron knew he was going to be strong coming into this weekend. Was 2nd yesterday, 2nd today. Really consistent. He's going to be tough to beat. He's going to be one of those guys that is going to be fighting for the win. So for Josh Herron coming in just as we thought, proving that, being quick. Almost had pole position. Cam Beaubier knocked him off there toward the end. But for the most part, Josh Herron's fast and consistent. But Cam Beaubier, just putting the BMW, we knew they would be strong. Top speed, the BMW is really good. He's able to use that here at MotoAmerica, just able to go out there and put those laps in. Seems like any time that he wants. So Cam Beaubier had a nice gap yesterday, sizable gap again today, but he knows when the lights go out, these riders behind him are really good and they'll step up.
Just perfect management of that session to be able to put that time in right there on the last lap as you look at the radar and just how it's evolved over the last couple of moments. And the rain is on its way, but it's getting here slowly. Michael, you're down there in it. You have your umbrella, you have your rain boots. Are you ready?
Yeah, well, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think I might have a new job as a weatherman because the predictions seem to have come true. I'm down here, I've got the cap on, I've got the umbrella as well. It is absolutely pouring down right here, and I tell you what, Cam Beaubier, if he'd have been 30 seconds later to start that lap, he would not have been as fast as he was. So thankfully we got that session done. It is now absolutely pouring down. That's going to change things, of course, isn't it, for the Mission King of the Baggers, their qualifying session. Nobody is going to improve lap times in this qualifying session, and then we've got the challenge as well. But as you can see, there are spots of rain on the cameras. It is pouring with rain in the pit lane, but you know what, I'm having a blast down here. Stay with us on MotoAmerica Live Plus, there's more to come. Mission King of the Baggers qualifying is next.
Steel Commander Corp provides the most durable and affordable solution for all of your steel building needs. Discover the range of possibilities with a clear span design maximizing maneuverability and versatility to create a custom design space that will offer peace of mind for the road ahead. Purchase a ticket to a MotoAmerica race and get 10% off your next building project. Call us at 844-SCC Iron for the building solution you've been waiting for.
Real-world rideability meets racetrack-level performance. With a bike that can perform anywhere, you're going to want to ride it everywhere. The bar has officially been reset. The Suzuki GSX 8R, the new standard of sport.
VP Racing Fuels. No matter what motorcycle you race or ride, amateur or pro, we have a fuel to make more power. Keep your bike running cool with VP Stay Frosty Coolant, available in 2 formulas: race ready, designed to be glycol free and track approved, and high performance with freeze protection for street applications. Visit vpracingfuels.com to learn more.
Neck and neck they go between Beaubier and Herron.
Hi, I'm Luke Calzone, Marketing Manager of Spectro Performance Oils. At Spectro Performance Oils, tradition runs deep. Most of you may know us by our first product, that Golden Spectro. And from then and back in 1966, we've come a long way, offer all types of oils, lubes, sprays for motorcycles and power sports vehicles. Super excited to be an official partner of MotoAmerica in the King of the Bagger series here for the first year. Spectro is a huge part of the V-twin market. You know, a couple of our top-selling products, our Platinum 20W50, the heavy-duty line, we get great response from our consumers. If you could feel a difference, it's important to choose a high-quality, high-performance oil for your motorcycle or power sports vehicle. Most have high RPMs and high temperatures, so when choosing Spectro, you can cruise with confidence.
We rely on R&G's full range of products to keep our motorcycles safe in case of a crash. From their engine guards, to the swing arm chain guard, to the brake guard on the front of the motorcycle, R&G provides high-quality equipment that fits well on the motorcycle and protects the cases. R&G's products keep our racers in the race.
The Cardo Pack Talk Edge has been one of the coolest pieces of equipment that I use on a daily basis. It's crazy the technology that's gone into this unit. It's pretty wild. When I leave the house, I grab my helmet, I grab my gloves, my vest, whatever I'm gonna need. and I definitely don't leave without taking my pack dog kit. It's that important to me. Today, we're gonna go do a fan lap, and we're gonna strap a couple of these cardos on a couple of the fans, and we're gonna chat with them. We're gonna ride in front of them and kind of tell them what the track's like and what we do around this track and why we take certain lines and where we're getting on the throttle and where our braking markers are. It's gonna be fun riding with these people. We're gonna strap these pack talk edges on and get out there.
Welcome back to Road America for Superbikes at Road America, part of the 10th anniversary MotoAmerica Championship season. It is time now for the Mission King of the Baggers category, and we've just been told that with the rain in the area, this session qualifying has been declared a wet session, Roger.
Yeah, and what that means is that if it rains before the race, they don't have to give them the opportunity if it's wet. So you got to go out and you got to get some track time in. You see Max Flinders there heading out. We think yesterday's lap times will set the grid for the challenge, and that's going to put Max in the challenge. So this is going to be a huge session for him to get out there and try to get some experience in the wet.
Saw the temperature up there on the screen just a moment ago. It's dropped to 64 degrees outside right now, but the biggest story is this big system of rain that is not only on the way now, but it's found its way to Elkhart Lake.
Yeah, and it's here, and the track is pretty wet. One thing, it's hard to see how heavy that it's raining, but all these guys are going to go out and try to get some track time.
You see Max Flinders out right now. You can see a little bit of the spray that was coming up off of the road. So the rain, as we've been away, has continued to fall, and the track is wet.
You know who's been fast when the track's been wet on the bagger? Max.
Max Flinders, that's right. To go back to Road Atlanta and what he was able to do and finish on the podium position. Let's take a look back at Road Atlanta and the last time we saw Mission King of the Baggers guys out racing.
Yeah, and here you can see the track here, race 2 at Road Atlanta, how the track was kind of half wet, half dry. There at the start, some guys were on rain tires, others were on slicks, but Troy Hertfoss there from pole position, able to get out there and make a really good start there early on. You see everybody just trying to figure out where the track's at. Troy was one of the only guys out there on slick tires. You see the guys behind him, Hayden Gillum there, looking for all the wet patches. And Max Flinders, we just talked about Max and the wet conditions, able to start working his way toward the front, picking guys off. He's going by Tyler O'Hare right there, Hayden Gillum as well. One of the best saves you'll ever see, Max, through the S corners there at Road Atlanta. But Troy Hertfoss made a great, him and his team, great ride, great tire choice from them, was able to get that victory, and you'll see the points lead that he has now. It's still close.
And Max Flinders, when he made his way over to celebrate at the podium, wasn't able to walk up there, and Troy carried him up there himself. And Troy leading the points right now, 135 points for the rookie in the category. Kyle Wyman, though, right there with him, just 9 points back. And then James Rispoli on the number 43. He's there as well in the top 3, but 56 points is the gap right now.
Yeah, and Tyler O'Hare as well, 56 points back, and Hayden Gillum pretty close to them in fifth, 61 back. So those guys got quite a bit of work to do if they're going to close down that gap.
Now, when we stepped away and we're at commercial, if you didn't leave your screen and you watched, you saw the unveiling of these new bikes. That is James Rispoli on the white Harley Davidson, that number 43. You just saw the 33, Kyle Wyman, on the black bike. And this is a new look this week, and this is not what the bikes looked like yesterday in qualifying session 1.
No, and with it being so close to Harley to come out and have that special, the paint job, just like the bikes that they're going to sell. One of the biggest things in racing has always been win on Sunday, sell on Monday, and here the bike is going to look just like the bike you can go down to at your dealership and buy. And I'm sure the Harley team might not want to see that rain right here right before they go out with their special new bikes. Man, they look good.
They do look good, and I love that they carried the livery not just on the bike but also through the leathers and the helmet, and just really put the whole package together. When you look at qualifying yesterday, it was Kyle Wyman on the number 33 that led the field. It was a 2:19.1 that he put down in the dry conditions, the beautiful day that we had yesterday. And with the rain on the track, we are expecting those to be the qualifying times. that we're going to go off of to set the field. You see Rocco Landers on that number 97. He's now leaving pit lane to get a taste of the racetrack in the rain for the first time.
Yeah, we see Bobby Fong there as well, headed out right behind Kyle Wyman. Had issues yesterday in qualifying, so as of right now, he doesn't have a qualifying lap in. He's going to miss the challenge. We see Hayden Gillum out there right now, talking about on the pre-show on Friday, able to start trying to figure things out on that Vance & Hines Harley, and starting to really show some speed the last couple weekends.
You see the slow-mo replay, you can see how wet the racetrack is and what these riders are going to have to deal with. But with it being declared a wet session, when we go racing later this afternoon, they'll already have some experience. All the other categories that have been out this morning to wrap up their qualifying efforts, they don't have that same experience.
They don't have that, and so, you know, with this being declared a wet session, if it doesn't rain and you haven't seen the track yet and it rains right before your session, MotoAmerica has to give you an opportunity to see the track in the new conditions. And with this, when it's declared a wet, they don't have to do that because the track's wet, so you better get out there and get a couple laps in, and all these riders are going to be out there trying to get some laps, especially if you're one of those guys that's in that mission challenge coming up.
As you watch Bobby Fong, and he will be able to put a lap up to be able to get into the field, and it's just not going to be representative of what he would like, and it's going to put him further back in the mix.
Yeah, he's going to start pretty far back on the grid, but, you know, for Bobby, you know, he's won a bagger race here at Road America, and that's the thing, whenever you know this is just the cards you're dealt, and you got to go out today in this session, make the best out of it. You're not going to qualify as well as you like, but just got to get a really, really good start. And here at Road America with the long straightaways, you know, sometimes if you're a little bit further back than you'd like, you can get a really good draft down into turn one and make up a lot of spots.
And if you're watching here with us live on YouTube, just a reminder that this feed is not going to be up all day. This is some bonus coverage that you're getting to watch here live. It's qualifying for Mission King of the Baggers. We're also up a few moments ago for the Superbike qualifying session, but the only place to watch all of the qualifying sessions and all of the racing action live in its entirety is on MotoAmerica Live Plus. So if you don't already have your account set up, make sure that in the next several minutes you go ahead and do that, because as the afternoon rolls on, this feed will be taken off of YouTube, and you will have to go to MotoAmerica Live Plus in order to continue our full day coverage. But we also have a lot of bonus content that's on Live Plus. Yesterday we did a preview show, and we've been doing the preview shows, Roger, at each of the rounds so far, and it's really a great opportunity to get some behind the scenes information and have longer chats with some of the riders and really set up the storylines for the weekend.
Yeah, and just get to talk to the riders about, you know, their season and what they're looking forward to, the races coming up. And what I like about the preview show, gives you a really good opportunity to see the riders with their helmets off and hear them talk and see their personalities come out. You know, we watch these riders ride on the track and all that, but they always have their helmets on and their leathers, and, you know, they're doing their thing, and it's great with the preview show coming on there. And you know, it's fun too watching the young riders come on there that are shy and don't say a lot, and then you fast forward to a couple years and they're owning the microphone, so it's just kind of fun to watch that transition as well.
And you certainly see the progression. You see, watch now Kyle Wyman, he was a guest on the preview show back at Road Atlanta. We're setting up the King of the Bagger season. Well, moment there for him, able to hold on to it, but Kyle's one of those riders that's really just taken full advantage of what this class has afforded him, and the bikes have continued to develop, not only, you know, season to season, but really race to race, and they're always finding more, and they're doing so much testing on these motorcycles.
And it's a great opportunity for Kyle as well to be in the Harley family and come in. I know it's tough for Kyle running his own team and, you know, doing Superbikes and make that decision to, you know, to stop and focus on the Harley, but it was a great move, and he's in such a good position now to be on that team. One of the first guys that, you know, started the baggers, and, you know, he's starting to have his own team again in the hooligan class, and Harley has stepped up and helped them out. So it's just been great. It's really cool to see the Harley Davidson commercials and see Kyle Wyman in those as well.
There are a couple of riders that we don't see out on the racetrack just yet. Michael, who's missing?
Yeah, interestingly, I mean, firstly, it was no surprise that Max Flinders was the first one out on track, was it? He loves these conditions. He kind of relishes that opportunity to show his wet weather skills. So no surprise then. There is Max actually just coming in just not too far from where I'm standing. But big names that we don't see on track. Tyler O'Hara and Troy Herfoss. Remind you, of course, as you said earlier on in this particular session, the winner of the last race of Mission King of the Baggers in the very wet mixed conditions, not on the circuit. And you would expect, given that he hasn't been here for more than a decade, you'd expect him wanting to get out there on the bagger, but he's not on track, and neither is Tyler O'Hara, which just seems a bit strange, Roger.
Yeah, it really does seem strange, and it's, man, you watch these baggers and you see them sliding on their way into the corner. It's just amazing what they're able to do, and it is surprising not to see them out there, and knowing that the challenge is up next, and Harley's guys are out there able to get some laps in. And you see James Rispoli now on a really good lap so far, kind of setting the bar high. It's only a 15-minute session, and with the lap times 2 minutes and 40 seconds, they're not going to get tons of laps.
Yeah, it's also curious considering that this was declared a wet session, and this is their opportunity to get those Indians out there and see what they do on the racetrack in the rain. And for a rider like Troy Herfoss, who hasn't been here, to make it around this 4-mile racetrack in the rain would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, and you hate to speculate, but maybe the rain came in sooner than they thought. Maybe possibly didn't have wets mounted. I don't know that for sure, but it just seems a little bit odd. But they have a plan, and whatever it is, he's out.
Oh, and there is a rider that is down. Is that Travis Wyman?
It's Travis Wyman.
This is out at turn 5. You saw the bike down. You see Travis. He's getting up, but didn't look like he was going to be able to collect. So James Rispoli, as the session has continued, he's able to improve his own time.
It's going to be a good session for Rispoli. He's kind of struggled a little bit at Road Atlanta, was a little bit frustrating. Now he does a 2:38.0. 3 seconds quicker than Hayden Gillum, who's actually in the pit. So right now, James is out there taking advantage of this track time.
You see Travis Wyman there up and on the other side of the wall. This bike is just a mangled mess looking at it from this angle. Take a look at this replay at the top of your frame.
Yeah, it's just hard to see what happened. He crashed really early on the brakes. We've seen a lot of the riders been watching them when they're braking going down into that hill. The rear end really stepped out and kind of pushing them in. I'm not sure exactly what happened. It's great to see the safety crew there getting to him right away, and glad to see him up. That was a hard crash. You see the bike. It's the crew's gonna have some work to do before this afternoon.
Look at Rocco Landers out circulating down in 9th place right now, and for him, he's been so honest with it over the years as he's come up through the ranks, and the fact that he just doesn't like riding in the rain.
Yeah, and it's a confidence thing and getting comfortable, and for Rocco, he's mentioned it, he knows it, and he's trying to get better, and that's one of the weaknesses that he knows, and the only thing he can do is go out there and get those laps in and try to figure it out and try to find that confidence in the wet.
He said he was really starting to not get the hang of it. I mean, he certainly knows what he's doing, but he was starting to feel more comfortable back at the end of last season at New Jersey Motorsports Park, where we ended the season off with some rain. And for him, there's been a lot of opportunity, unfortunately, this year to do it. For a lot of the riders, we've had rain in several different rounds. As you now watch Corey West on that number 13. He's out there currently shown in 5th in this session, but you look at the times from yesterday, he was down in 8th in those dry conditions. It's a teammate to Travis Wyman, who we saw down. This is a Saddleman Racing team, so the team will turn their attention to get Travis's bike ready for the race later on this afternoon. But for Corey, he's able to go out there and get some good data and some information that he'll be able to take back to him, and they can then get Travis's bike ready, matched off of what Corey learned in this rain session.
Yeah, and having a 3-rider team with Jake Lewis as well, so they're going to have 2 riders out there able to get some, information and some data. And for Travis, just kind of, unfortunately, it's one of those situations, and he's up and he's okay, but he's going to have to go ask his teammates, and even his brother as well, go ask Kyle about the track and the places where he wasn't able to finish that session out and figure out the mistake that he made.
See the fans over there, and Travis giving him a thumbs up, letting him know he's all right. They'll get the bike fixed. Watch Bobby Fong. He was out there in the previous session in the Superbike category. He had a great qualifying session there. It was still dry before this rain came in, and then quickly shifting his attention over to the Mission King of the Baggers, and it's just such a different racetrack than what he saw just in the one previous session.
And you can see by the spray coming off the tires how much more it is than the beginning of the session. So the rain is definitely starting to come down a little bit harder. It's picking up. You can kind of hear it outside coming down a little bit harder, but it's going to be totally different. 10 minutes ago before the session started, he was out there and the track was perfect. People were breaking track records, and you go out the next time and it's soaking wet.
But he'll be able to use this experience on this King of the Baggers, take this information back to his team at Wrench Motorcycles and make some changes to that Superbike. See it a little twitchy there, but he'll be able to make some changes to the Superbike and get it ready to go for what we're expecting to be more rain this afternoon.
Yeah, he's going to know what corners are slick and where the puddle's up and where the patches are. So he's going to have a little bit, if it does rain this afternoon for that Superbike race, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage having this session, even though it's on a totally different bike, but he's still going to know where the puddles are, where like some sealer patches could be. So it's an advantage.
You see the clock for this qualifying session has round down to nothing. You saw Bobby Fong just cross and take the checkered flag, but looking up at the timing and scoring screen, there are some sectors there for Troy Herfoss on that number 17. He hasn't come past start-finish line, but he's finally made it out to the racetrack.
Yeah, and he's getting a lap in now, so you see that slide there, big moment. This is going to be big for him, getting the opportunity to see this track in the wet, not being here in the wet on the bagger and just able to get out and see it. You'll even see, even after the checkered flag, I bet he probably pushes it pretty hard back to the pits, just trying to get a good feel for it, for the conditions.
We saw him as he made that move around Corey West, who's been out there for 4 laps and has already seen the racetrack. But for Troy, it was his first lap around and already taking the checkered flag. But it's so impressive the way he's able just to learn the track so quickly and then apply it.
Yeah, and talking about a track that's 4 miles long, and that was his first lap in the full lap in the wet, and he's able to move right up to 4th.
And you see Herfoss out there now. Yesterday, he was able to carry one of the Insta360 cameras for us, and we saw it earlier on Loris Baz's bike on the Superbike category, but here on a bagger, look at the tail of this bike, and it really shows you how big they are.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the exact same thing. You can just see how wide it is and how low they get to the ground. That's what's so impressive. We have guys starting to drag their elbows on these things, and you just see the lean angle. It's just amazing to see.
His teammate Tyler O'Hara on the preview show yesterday mentioned the fact that he'd been in King of the Baggers since that very first race that they did several years ago, and he said back then we were dragging everything. Now guys are actually dragging their elbows and their knees, and so just the development of this class is just huge. You can't say enough about what the teams have been able to do and what the riders have been able to figure out, and you get these angles and it really puts it all into perspective.
And the lap times as well, and as fast as they change directions. Watching the way he goes into these corners and he picks the bike up right away, trying to get a good drive through this fast right-hander. Just see how much they work. It's really, these guys, the lap times they are doing, I don't think anybody could ever fathom they would go that fast.
Now this is live. You can see how different it was yesterday in terms of weather and race conditions and what we have now today for the time being and for what we're expecting to be most of the afternoon, and just the wet racetrack and riders getting out there and seeing it for the first time. These are the combined qualifying results after the session we just saw and the session that happened yesterday. You see all these times came from that first dry session. The pictures you just saw, Kyle Wyman led the way, that 2:19.1, breaking the track record that Bobby Fong had set last year.
Yeah, I see Troy Herfoss there. Tyler O'Hara, the 2 Indians there on the front row. Hayden Gill and James Rispoli, the fastest in the wet. Max Flinders, first time he's made the Mission Challenge there in 6th. Rocco Landers 7th, Corey West 8th, and rounding out the 3rd row with Jake Lewis.
Yeah, Rocco Landers was bummed he didn't make the challenge race at the last round as well, and sitting on the outside in 7th right now. So you see Travis Wyman, Bobby Fong rounding out the field. Let's go ahead and go down to Michael Hill, who is still out there in the rain. Michael?
Yeah, I'm still down here. I've managed to get an umbrella because I didn't want to get my hair wet, Jamie, so it's not a good look, honestly, it really isn't. But we're just having a little bit of a walk. Bikes coming back in after that very wet session. I can tell you, it's not letting up down here. It is raining heavier and heavier and heavier, and unfortunately, if I look to my left-hand side over the paddock as Tyler O'Hara comes in, Bobby Fong just coming in down here as well. We're going to try and grab a word with a couple of these guys that are going to be going out into the challenge. There is James Rispoli on that splendid looking Harley. It really does look nice, doesn't it, that new livery on the bike. Bobby Fong there. And what about this guy here just coming in now? This is Troy Herfoss, who's just having a bit of a play there as he comes in. Only did 1 lap, ended up in P4, and we've seen him already in mixed conditions. He's going to be very, very quick. Now, as I said during that commentary session, one of the guys really that loves these conditions. He relishes these conditions. Let's have a look and see if we can get a quick word with this guy, Max. Trying to keep his hair dry. Me as well, mate. Me as well. Of course. No surprise, as I said in the commentary there, that you were the first one out. I bet when the rain clouds came, you were doing a little dance, weren't you?
Yeah, some of the team were dancing. They were smiling at me. You know, some people have been looking at me a bit differently. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. It's my first time in the Challenger race, so hopefully I can win some money.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. A serious question, though. Obviously, you're riding in Mission, obviously King of the Baggers. You're also double duty in Superbike. Now, these conditions obviously level the playing field, not just on the bagger, but in the Superbikes as well. I mean, no pressure, but double podium this week. I mean, what would it mean to you to get on the podium in Superbikes?
I've been in Superbikes since we started. If I got on the podium with my Thrash Bike team, I'd probably break down. I mean, it would be so special. So if I can do that here, with everyone here, I think Michael will also drop his microphone, but it would be amazing. So let's go for a double podium this weekend, and let's make everyone smile.
Yeah, well, I would probably drop the microphone because I'd be delighted, not because I was in shock, mate. I totally believe in your ability. Stick with us then. We're getting ready for Mission Baggers Challenge. That is coming up next. It's all going to come live on MotoAmerica Live Plus.
Unleash your potential with Insta360 X3. Capture all the action in 5.7K. Impossible third-person views. And epic 4K POVs. Your videos have never looked so smooth. Take your motorbike shots to new heights.
There goes Gage Herrera, the high-winding four-cylinder Suzuki motorcycle of Vance and Hines.
High-revving Hayabusa really starts to pour on the coals.
Quickest run in the history of pro stock motorcycles.
We've been there since the very beginning.
The rookie on a rookie machine on its main
organizing the industry and building champions. Years of defending your rights to ride into the future.
Welcome back to Road America for Superbikes at Road America. We have just wrapped up qualifying for the Mission King of the Baggers category. Now it is time, as we do at each of the race weekends, to turn our attention to the challenge for the Mission King of the Baggers. And Roger, this has really been a great opportunity for the riders to go out there and over the course of 2 laps really push it, get some bragging rights and get some extra cash.
Yeah, and it goes by quick. I mean, only 2 laps for these guys to go out and a lot to play for, $5 grand. So it's going to be interesting. Also today, even making it more interesting, as the rain came in just as they went out for their second qualifying. So it's going to be interesting to see.
There's a lot of things that have been going on here at Road America so far this weekend. The fans have always come out to this racetrack and they camp, they barbecue, everybody just has a great time.
Yeah, and just seeing all the fans here, I mean, it's packed through the infield, went through there last night, and all the campers, and always just such a huge crowd here at Road America. It's great to see. You know, besides all the Packer fans, but besides that, it's just great to see, and always love coming here. And you see the same fans year after year. So the track has made different routes around the track. They're able to walk around. You can go see any corner you want to at this track.
And there's great concessions all around, great camaraderie. You mentioned fans coming to this track for years and years. Take a look at the radar and what we've kind of been going through so far this morning. And it started off dry in all of the sessions, but then this rain, it just came in quicker than what everybody was expecting. Wasn't supposed to be here until later, but now it is here to stay for the foreseeable future this afternoon. And I think for a lot of the racing, it's going to be done under wet conditions for the rest of this afternoon. Let's take a look at the track map, and it's 4 miles long, and we've talked about this being a rider's favorite. It's certainly a fan favorite, as you mentioned, Roger, but it's a long one.
Yeah, it's a really long one, and it's really fast. Turn 1 all the way to turn 3 is really quick. Down into turn 5, which we usually see most passes made, it's fun watching the baggers back it in through there. 6, 7, 8, the long carousel there, turn 9 through that fast chicane, turn 11. All the way down to turn 12, the track in the wet conditions is going to be slick through there, Canada corner. Through that fast left-hander, you can see right there kind of a couple puddles coming out of Canada corner, all the way through to the last corner. Coming up that hill, it's going to be interesting to see these baggers in the wet with the big spray. And, these riders just went out. They didn't get a lot of laps in the wet, so there's just a lot of unknown. And see Hayden Gillum out there on his warm-up lap. You can see just how much more the rain and the spray and the puddles have been just from a couple minutes ago when he's out there for their qualifying.
And Hayden Gillum going around to get lined up for this challenge race. You mentioned that not many laps were out there to be had, but you see Troy Herfossel in the number 17. That was a big slide for him, and he and his teammate Tyler O'Hara.
It's hard to get those. Luckily, he has all that runoff room. I was talking about turn 5, the way the baggers have been backing them in down that hill in the wet, and he just got it out too far where he couldn't get it slowed down and waving to the crowd and acting like he had it all under control.
Yeah, I was going to say was he and his teammate didn't make it out there until right at the end of the session, so they don't have nearly the experience that the rest of these riders have from that short practice session or the qualifying session that they just went through. You see Kyle Wyman there going around to find his spot up on the grid. This is the way they'll line up. It'll be Kyle Wyman that pole position, Troy Herfoss alongside him with Tyler O'Hara rounding out that front row.
Yeah, and in the second row, Hayden Gillum, James Rispoli, and Max Flinders. Great to see Max make his first mission challenge.
And that's it. It's just the top 6. Everybody out of pit lane right now. Michael, but we were talking about at the end of that session, finally those 2 Indian motorcycles were able to make it out onto the racetrack, but why did they miss so much of it?
Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. We're not sure exactly why they weren't out there. I did see Troy, as I was just leaving the pit lane to come out heading towards the podium, give a big thumbs up and a smile. So I wonder whether they were just waiting to see, was it just going to be a passing shower, how much what was on the track. Obviously they're seeing the same pictures on MotoAmerica Live Plus as we obviously are from commentating and broadcasting. So I don't know whether they were maybe just erring on the side of caution, but there was certainly no panic from them as I left the pit lane, and I think they're going to be in good shape.
As they come around, the procedure for the challenge, this 2-lap shootout that we talked about for the King of the Baggers, it's a grid and go, so it's a quick start for them. Take a look at the weather. So the conditions right now still 64 degrees. That's what we had earlier on this morning. The winds right there around 7 miles an hour, which is what we also had earlier. So it hasn't changed a lot since the rain got here, which for these riders that have the only class that have seen the track and the wet conditions for them. Looking at the field as they've lined up, and Max Flinders is not out there in his position.
Yeah, I seen him in the background pulling the pit lane, not sure exactly what happened.
The lights are out. It is time for this 2-lap shootout. You saw Kyle Wyman from that pole position. He had a pretty solid start, but Troy Herfoss is right there.
Yeah, and Troy with a great start, but Kyle able to get a lot of laps. And Hayden Gillum also making a move down into turn 1.
From the second row for Hayden Gillum. He understands what this challenge is. It's only 2 laps. You have to get out early and try and build that gap.
Down into turn 3, going downhill. I mean, you can see how hard everybody's pushing and sliding, and knowing that this race is going by really quick. It's going to be interesting to watch these guys come down into turn 5. We seen on the warm-up lap, Troy Herfoss got in a little bit deep. We'll see if he makes it clean this first lap.
We have been told by race control that the 88 of Max Flinders did withdraw from this challenge. We're not sure yet what led to that decision being made, but we will not see him.
Oh, these guys, this track is slick. You see James Rispoli there, the fastest guy in that second qualifier that was wet, just slipping and sliding all over the place.
Rispoli is able to also get around Kyle Wyman. So Kyle back there in 3rd position right now with Tyler O'Hara behind him. Those are the 4 that are still out there. We saw Hayden Gillum have that incident early on that first lap, and then Max Flinders rounding out the 6 that made it into the challenge. He's still on pit lane. So these 4, this is it, Roger.
This is it, and the missing challenge is just about the $5,000 check. There's nothing for second, or there's no points on the line.
But remember in the qualifying session, Troy Herfoss was only able to put 1 lap up on the board. He missed that entire session. His teammate Tyler O'Hara was the same for him as well, but you can already see just how impressive he is, and even in these conditions.
You can see them hydroplaning through there. I mean, it's just incredible to see what they're doing. James Rispoli is actually right on Tyler O'Hara now.
See on the left-hand side of your screen, that yellow bike, that is Max Flinders being pushed away. And Rispoli was looking, he was right there, and this sector of the racetrack, he falls back a little bit.
A little bit, and I think also you're watching these guys riding in the wet. You see, they're not really leaning over as much, trying to keep it on the edge of the tire. These guys come out of this long front straightaway. Look at them slipping and sliding and hydroplaning all the way up this front straightaway, but not letting off the throttle.
You were talking yesterday as the white flag is now being shown. This is the final lap of the challenge for Mission King of the Baggers. You were talking yesterday, Roger, about how the track, it's long and it's mentally challenging. In terms of physicality, though, it's not the most challenging, but in these conditions on a bike that's this heavy, and you watch how slippery it is, they're working hard.
Yeah, they're working hard, and just the focus. I mean, one little mistake. We see James Rispoli going to try to make a move maybe down into turn 3.
He's able to get around him and make it stick for now, but we're getting to the part of the track where Troy Herfoss was just better.
Yeah, and we'll see if he can outbrake him down into turn 5. You see James, really smart by him, getting on the left side of the track, trying to block that inside.
the clear visor on James Rispoli. You could really see in that shot how far ahead he was looking. And
oh,
Hayden
Gillum.
Gillum. That was a big hit for Hayden.
See Kyle Wyman there, right there. And third, looks like Troy's made the pass back on Rispoli.
Being told now that Hayden Gillum was able to get up and he is walking around down there as we watch Troy Herfoss and James Rispoli finishing out this Mission King of the Baggers challenge. You can just see the rain continuing to fall as it hits the track and conditions continuing to worsen for all of these riders.
Watch these riders out of this long straightaway. Watch how much these bikes are gonna slip and slide starting right there. See, look at that, just sliding around. It's such a battle, not shutting off. Rispoli's gonna try to be on the inside, going into Canada corner, but he's just not close enough. Troy Herfoss very far on the side, veteran move, making James go the long way.
Yeah, even in these conditions and what they're faced with, what they're challenging, it really just shows you how impressive all of these riders are, that they're able to continue pushing. And James Rispoli is not willing to just give up. He doesn't care if Troy's going to make him go the long way around. He's still pushing to go for it.
See, now he's going to set up wide, Rispoli is, and this is going to give him a good run out of this last corner.
It's going to be a race to the checkers for that $5,000 cash, or the check that they then convert to the cash. And for James Rispoli, he wants it bad. Right at the checkered flag, James wasn't willing to give up, but ultimately Troy Herfoss was able to cross the line in front of him by 0.04 of a second was the gap there. So James Rispoli certainly pushing hard, but Troy Herfoss is going to go home with that $5,000.
Yeah, what a great ride by those two guys. That was a great show, watching them slipping and sliding and went all the way down to the line. James did a great job setting up in that last corner, quite a bit wider. Tried to make a run. We'll see how close it is right there.
Yeah, he was able to bring it in, but that's what less than 0.05 of a second looks like, Roger.
That's what 5,000 and no money looks like.
This is Hayden Gillum, and the incident that we saw just the tail end of moments ago, and we know that again Hayden was able to get up, but that was a big hit, Roger.
Yeah, that was that turn 5 that we've seen, and he slid into that wall, but you can see Hayden, he's up, but he's shook up.
Yeah, and he's with the medical team there, thankfully able to get to him and give him the assistance that he needs. Take a look at the results. We saw Troy Herfoss with that win right over James Rispoli, who was pushing hard. Kyle Wyman, Tyler O'Hara, the 4 that were out there for the full time, they really weren't pushing as hard as those front 2 were.
No, I don't think so. And being smart, knowing that it doesn't pay points. So, and Troy and James just seemed like they were a little bit more comfortable.
And unfortunately for Hayden Gillum, ending that session out the way he did. Certainly keep our eyes on him as the day continues. And take a look at the highlights of this session. Most of them coming from the front of the finishing order. Take a look here, Roger.
Yeah, and what a great race to see how wet the track is. Kyle Wyman looks like he had a great jump there from pole, but it's Hayden Gillum there on the inside down into turn 1, able to lead him out of turn 1 down into turn 3, where he got in a little bit too deep, ran off track, able to keep it on 2 wheels, get back into the race. You see Troy Herfoss there in the lead, James Rispoli right there on the white Harley, coming in there right behind him there, and was able to kind of catch Tyler or Troy Herfoss. And as the race went on, you could just see how close they were. These two changed positions each lap. Only 1 lap to go. Last lap, James makes a move down into turn 3. Able to hold it for a couple corners, but then out of turn 6, you see the little slide out of Rispoli. Troy is able to get the run and able to hold it to the line.
And he was able to push it, and as Kyle Wyman, Tyler O'Hara, they finished 3rd and 4th. They were nearly 9 seconds behind those two, but they were still out there. They got those 2 laps of experience. They knew they weren't going to push it enough for the win, and Troy Herfoss taking home another $5,000 check.
Yeah, and what a great ride by him. Only did that 1 lap in that second qualifier, really not seeing the track and able to go out there and get that win. So, man, it's glad to, even though it's, you know, not perfect, it's just glad to see Hayden up.
Yeah. We were told that he was smiling at the crowd, so he was able to wave to the fans and thank them for their support, but it'll be a tough afternoon for Hayden Gillum. See him all applauding as the medical team taking him away. You see the bike being loaded up now onto the trailer to get it back for the team to take a look at, see what can be done. Troy Herfoss continuing to circle around the racetrack and make his way back to pit lane, get back to the team, and be able to celebrate.
And $5,000 extra in his pocket as well for Mission. Not a bad couple laps for him.
No, 2 laps of work, and you get $5,000. And Mission really has stepped up their commitment to racing. And you know, here at Road America, they announced a multi-year partnership where they have the Mission Bridge now. They have the Mission Beach area for the spectators and the fans to all enjoy, and just really committed to watching the sport continue to grow and be there for it.
Yeah, and they sponsor a lot of teams as well and some riders, so they've been a huge addition to the sport.
Part of each of the race weekends, riders, not racers, able to go out and see the racetrack and get to experience what it's like to go around all of these iconic circuits that MotoAmerica is able to go to. Let's go ahead and sit it down to Michael Hill.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks, Roger. It's very, very wet down here. Sorry, I didn't see where the camera was there. It's very, very wet. There's a big crowd down here, though, here at Road America. Are you enjoying the action, guys? Come on, let me hear you make some noise. They're enjoying it. They're enjoying it, as is this guy. Oops, sorry, let me just squeeze in here and speak to the man of the moment, Troy Herfoss. You're a bit late to the party in those exploratory laps, but didn't seem to matter for you, did it? That was a great job. Good race.
Yeah, sometimes it's better not knowing, isn't it? We're pretty late on the setup change. We're hoping we get a few dry laps, to be honest. I've done 10 laps of this track before today. Really, on this bike, it's been about 17 years. But I got 1 flying lap in Q2, and I felt like I'd done a good job. And I don't know if you guys seen it, but I nearly crashed on the outlap. Man, I was following Kyle. I'm like, I need to see someone just to see what the spray is like, and I'm trying to catch him. And he comes down the hill, and I see him all sideways, and I'm like, I broke. I'm like, I'm not making this. There's no way. And I'm like, oh, looks like I'm going to see how good this bagger goes on dirt track. And it's actually got a lot of grip with the wet, so we can probably get it down on a flat track. But I made it to the start line. Hey, it's not always the fastest guys that win a race. I knew James had more pace than me, but yeah, racing isn't about being the fastest on the track sometimes. And I tried to control it as good as I could, and I'm sure if it was a longer race, I was in a bit of trouble. So. We'll go back, we'll watch where he's faster. I actually seen him for a few corners, and you learn so much so quick. So, yeah, he's got a lot of pace. So we'll go back and have a look at the video footage and see if we can be better this afternoon. But today I just want to celebrate this win with the Indian racing team. I want to thank Parts Unlimited, S&S Cycle, Drag Specialties, Suomi, Alpine Star, Dunlop. The list goes on. I'm so thankful to be out here in America racing, and this is kind of my home track. I spent some time here years ago, and it's great to be back here.
Well, I tell you what, when you give up racing, you're kind of my job. You talk more than me, mate. Incredible. What an interview. It's a small win, only 0.004 of a second. It was a close one, but it gives me great pleasure now to invite Steve Davison from Mission to move forward and present. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it. Troy Herfoss is the winner of $5,000. All smiles then for Troy Herfoss. As he said, he did start his career here about 17 years ago. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back with some interesting features, including the first mic of the weekend. Stay with us on MotoAmerica Live Plus.
Mission Foods. Load up those saddlebags for Mission King of the Baggers Racing and feed your need for flavor. Fully loaded tacos.